So, if you watched my 2 little vlogs yesterday, you will know that Camtasia is dead. So right now I'm using the default-ass Windows Movie Maker for the next 2 reviews. Luckily they are short and easy to make, and this one does not even have footage as it's technology, and that's not really my bag baby. But we are going to do it just to have them up in a nice reasonable time. Then across the course of the next few days I'm going to be working on purchasing a brand new editing tool which is far superior and far better than Camtasia. So sorry if the next 2 videos do have a slight dip in quality, but I'm going to try and make them as good as possible given the tools in the free-ass Windows Movie Maker. And reviews have a time limit, so I really wanted to get these out, and so fuck knows what I'm going to do about Colour Splash. But let's get these 2 out across the course of the day and tomorrow, as they're nice and short and don't require much editing, so Windows Movie Maker won't explode. Then we'll look at Colour Splash and the new editing software. With all that being said, thank you very much for understanding, and thank you very much for sticking around, and let's dive in. So, the other day, my tech guy has got a PlayStation VR. Now, I don't know if Sony's getting on people's asses or not, but I think they are. I mean, like Jim Sterling said this in his video.
Before we get cracking, I've got to talk about disclosures. Now, Sony is very insistent on disclosures in video and review coverage of the PSVR. They really want it stressed that I received this unit from Sony. I got it from them. This is the disclosure. Please believe me when I tell you I got this from nowhere else, okay? Not a wizened old man with a top hat with patches on it standing in the street offering trinkets and wares. It wasn't found on the back of a truck. I didn't 3D print it. Sony gave this thing to me.
Now, for myself, it was my tech guy that has the VR device, not me, so I'm under no obligations. But if Sony is listening, I do believe that he got it off of you, but I'm not sure. However, before you try taking down my video, Sony, please don't. Please. This is made in Windows Movie Maker. I'm poor and I have nothing worth suing for. I mean, you can sue me for my broken-ass version of Camtasia. Hell, I'll give you that if you want it, because it's broke. But no, please don't slam me. And after using your VR device, unlike the Oculus and the Vive, you might be pleased to know that I have a lot more positive things to say about yours. So to everyone watching that has a large sum of money to waste on a gimmicky VR trinket, I would say go for this one. As being that it's waited till the 2 guinea pigs went out and tested what worked and what didn't work, some of the technology has now been refined, some to a very nice degree. First off, the cameras in the eyes. They run at a smoother 60 frames per second, and the colours are slightly dimmed down as well as the lighting, and it's all a lot softer on the eyes. And unlike the Oculus Rift, where I could not wear the thing for even an hour, I think in the review I said I lasted 40 minutes before I had to take it off due to eye strain and headaches, here I got through the full recommended session with minimal, not complete, but with minimal eye strain and no headaches, just due to the smoother frame rate and softer lighting and colours in the cameras, with the recommended play session being 2.5 hours. So you can see the difference between the very first VR device of the Oculus lasting 40 minutes and this one lasting the full 2.5 hours. Second, despite its ridiculous design, I somewhat get it. So let's look at Jim here, as I'm going to draw arrows all over his side profile. The bad point is there's a lot of shit on this thing. So we have the main cameras in the goggles at the front here, the headband here, the fat-ass battery pack and wire thing at the back there, and for whatever reason, some plate thing that rests on the forehead here. It's the biggest and clunkiest design out of the 3 so far, so it is kind of heavy and does weigh down on you quite a bit. However, the 2 positives to this are, A, the whole thing is major padded, so while heavy, it's not uncomfortable, And B, which we'll get more into in a moment, you can sit down and rest your head on a cushion or pillow to take the weight off. Now, Sony, I would really love to see you refine this. You know, make it more slimlined. As it stands, it's a bit chunky, a bit too chunky, some might say, and a bit too heavy. Now, moving back to the point of B, where you can rest your head, this is because it gets right what the Wii, the Kinect, the Vibe and such got wrong. That being, while motion controls and virtual reality might be okay, but I don't think it is, no one wants to stand up and dance around like an idiot. So, with PlayStation VR, you can chill out on the couch, you know, have one of them V-shaped pillows around your neck to take the weight off and relax, and use a goddamn normal controller. Yes, a PlayStation 4 controller. Finally, someone gets that you don't need a shitty stick or a big brick tablet or anything whatsoever, like the fucking Vibes donut things. Just a normal controller if you just want to sit down and play. Now, of course, if you do want to be more active, then you can stand up and use the PlayStation Go controls, but it's optional. Hear that, Nintendo? Options. Giving people options. Like how I would love to play some of the games with your Pro Controller, not your shitty tablet. However, what is a VR device without games? Like Oculus had Minecraft as its demo, the Vibe had that job simulator thing. So what does Sony VR have as a launching pack inside of the VR? Well, not that much. I'll focus more on them in the final verdict. That is next, but it's got a main launch title that is some shitty horror game and a paddle game that I'm not going to show just yet. But yeah, that's all I can really say on the thing. It's hardware and there's nothing more to cover. You know, it's a headset that shows you VR games, and there is nothing more to look at than this headset, or say about this headset, as you can sit down and use a controller and you see the picture in your eyes. So that's really all I can say. And the games themselves would be reviews in of themselves if they were full games. Speaking of, so my final verdict for Sony VR is a competent 3 out of 5. If you're going for any of the 3 VR devices out there right now, I would recommend this one. It is the most well designed and competent out of the 3, causes the least amount of eye strain, although there is still some eye strain, and despite the sight of it and what it weighs, it is very well padded and comfy to wear. However, like all other VR devices on the market right now, it's still just a passing gimmick. Like motion controls, it's going to be dead within the next year or so, as the games are extremely lackluster. First off, there is this crappy horror game, and I want you to watch Jim's clip here.
Now you two move it up! Fuck's sake!
You're burning my hand. Ow. Ow.
Ow. You're burning my hand in a monotone voice. Now, obviously, this is a joke for the sake of the video. It is a hostile situation wherein Jim is being tortured. But due to the nature of VR and the fact that no matter what, when the sensor is active, the hand will always be on screen. Once Sony sends out all these free copies to the big YouTubers, once Jacksepticeye, Boogie and Markiplier all get theirs, the same joke is going to be made. I'm in a hostile situation, and even though I'm tied up and my hands are tied, because of the sensor thing, my hand is still technically on the screen, so when the flamethrower is pointed at me, I can use my magic third hand and be like, "Oh, very rude, you're burning me, oh man, it's like we're really there. It's like we're really in the room with young nasty man, rigagoo, rigagoo." No. And no matter how much all these companies push for VR, it is just the passing trend. Like motion controls, like Pogs, like Amiibo. Remember them? Remember the Amiibo craze? Remember when there were queues outside of shops at 4 a.m. waiting for the stores to open in the hopes that they can be one of the lucky 20 that get that Lucario because everyone wanted him and he was rare as shit, and Spyro never got a Lucario amiibo. Photon did. Where's my Lucario amiibo? Now, aside from a few Nintendo fans, tell me, who truly gives a shit about the functionality of amiibos, or even amiibos themselves? Because aside from a few hardcore Nintendo fans, you'll be very hard pressed to find one. Yeah, when it came out, it was a crazy fad, and I'll give Skylanders, despite how bad it is, its credit, as it started the whole thing, and it was like, holy shit, not only can I see this cool looking unicorn dragon and gemstone dragon in the game, but I can have awesome looking figures of them in real life that can sit on my desk and I can look at them while I'm editing. And if I touch her to my portal, my Flashwing, not a generic Flashwing, but my one, my Flashwing that I can pick the upgrades for, appears in the game. And everyone loved it. And everyone thought it was a great idea. And of course, Skylanders, being such the great idea it was, started the whole craze and got all the other companies copying them. Disney copied them with Disney Infinity. Nintendo copied them with Amiibos. And look where they all are now. Skylanders is losing more and more consumers by the day and selling less and less as all the new ones look shit. I mean, what the fuck is that? Like, compare this thing to Flashwing. Nobody's buying that shit anymore. Disney Infinity is no more, as no one bought the toys ever, and now Disney's gone. And even Nintendo is cutting back on the Amiibos. Remember the Bayonetta and Cloud amiibos that were coming out for Smash, which was announced ages ago? Yeah, they quietly disappeared, didn't they? Because it was just a fad, just a craze, like Boglins, like Crazy Bones, like Tamagotchis. And VR is the same way. If you have like $600 to $800 to blow on a VR device, then this is the one I recommend the most. But just keep in mind, after this shitty horror game and Curveball, and yes, this is Curveball from albinoblacksheep.com that I played like 10 years ago when I was in school. I mean, look, here's Jim knocking a ball from the foreground to the background. And here is me on Curveball. Yeah, the game is that popular that 10 years later the site still exists and is still going. But here's me playing Curveball. It's the same shit. But regardless, just remember that after this generic horror game and Curveball and a few other games that are, you know, slowly coming out for the VR, the PlayStation VR demonstration, within the year, VR will be the same as motion controls. It will be the same as toys to life, the same as Chia Pets. It will be dead and gone. And also, remember this. This is PlayStation. And let's remember how much they care for things other than the PS4. Them having a vastly superior spec-wise handheld that with a bit of time and love could easily crush the 3DS. Look where that ended up. No one has seen anything new, nor hide nor hair, of the Vita since it came out. Even though, again, it could easily crush the 3DS due to like all of the specs that outrank it. So you've got to ask yourself, if they care so little about the Vita, even though it could easily crush the 3DS, then how much do they really care about the VR headset? And what is to stop them from doing the same thing to the VR headset that they did to the Vita once this little fad dies away? And as a quick note to the end here, as I was editing this is now like a little post comment during editing, as I was literally editing this, Jim Sterling has put up a Jimquisition literally an hour ago of his review of the VR. Now, obviously, I only played the VR for 5 hours. I did 2.5 hours on the horror game and 2.5 hours on Curveball. That's about it. And that's all I'm going to get to play. You know, if I wanted to go back to my friend's house, I have to call him up, make sure he's available, you know, drive over there. I'm getting 5 hours. Jim has got one of these forever. He's had like 40, 50, 60 hours. So if you want to go watch the Jimquisition, where he goes very in-depth into all the specs, that has actually just gone live on his YouTube. So be sure to check that out as well if you are more of a hardware aficionado and you want to see like all of the very deep in-depth things. But for now, thank you all for watching. I will put this video up and then tomorrow I'll try and get the Five Nights Sister location up again. Going to be a very short, very simple video in Windows Movie Maker. Then I'll look at buying a program and sorting out this Colour Splash review, which as you may know from the 2 previous vlogs has been destroyed thanks to Camtasia. So thank you all for watching and I will see all of you in the next one.